congresswoman, I am a Latina, and I'm running to become your next U.S. Senator and defeat Rick Scott. You know, I'm running because as I have been traveling the state for quite some time, I was doing a lot of work with Gabby Giffords, in reducing gun violence. It's a very personal issue for me. I've been meeting with people all across the state, students at FAMU, seniors in Orlando, here as well, working families, small businesses, and they have all been saying the same thing. The affordability crisis in Florida is making it impossible for families to make it here in our state. Whether it's the skyrocketing property insurance rates, which began under Rick Scott when he was governor, or the high cost of medicine, the high cost of living in our state, people are struggling. But when you have in the Senate, the wealthiest senator in Washington, D.C., someone that oversaw the largest Medicare fraud in the history of this country, then took that money, used $64 million of that money to buy his Senate seat in 2018, you have no idea what it's like for seniors like my mom who have to live on a Social Security check, or for that single mother who now has to work 2 jobs just to be able to put food on the table. But just like in 2018, when my community down in South Florida needed change and organized and moved to elect me when I became the first South American immigrant to ever serve in the U.S. House of Representatives, I know that we can also win in 2024. And my story, I'm standing in front of you because of my mom. My mom had the incredible courage of leaving everything behind in our home country, my birth country of Ecuador. She didn't speak the language. She came, she brought me here. I was 14, and my sisters, looking for freedom, looking for opportunities that she knew she wouldn't be able to provide for us. And I watched her work 12-hour shifts, wake up early in the morning, and then she would go and learn English at night on the weekends. I started working at the age of 15 at a donut shop. It was a minimum wage job, and I learned very quickly how incredible this country was. That if you work hard enough, if you believe hard enough, and if you have the community behind you, anything is possible. But unfortunately, my story is now becoming an exception when it should be the rule because of extremists like Rick Scott, who are completely out of touch and are taking away those opportunities for our children. Look, in Florida, you know that we have been ground zero for attacks against our freedoms, attacks against our democracy. And we now know that when we allow politicians like Scott, who lack the courage to stand up for what is right, we are the ones that pay the price here in our state. Rick Scott has sided with insurrectionists. He was one of 7 senators to vote to overturn the election in 2020. He is willing to bend any rule, and we know that, just to remain in power. And it shouldn't be a surprise right now that as we see attacks against our freedoms and our democracy, they're attacking women's rights. Because democracy and women's rights go hand in hand. I always say that, because when women organize, when we create movements, we win and we strengthen democracy. But unfortunately, in the state of Florida, we saw that on May 1st, the state passed the most extreme ban on abortion, the 6-week abortion ban, with hardly any exceptions to rape and incest. A critical right for a woman that is central to her health care, it is central to her dignity. And it should be a private matter between a woman, her doctor, her family, and her faith, free of government interference. And Rick Scott has doubled down. Don't believe a word this man is saying. He has said time and time again he's going to vote against the amendment. He would have signed into law the 6-week ban. He supports it fully. He co-sponsors a national abortion ban. He just voted against access to contraception and access to IVF that Medicare money is not going to lie to Floridians any longer. I will not stand for it, and I hope that you're with me when I say that. And so much of this race is so personal to me because my mom lives with me, and I have seen her struggle with her health. And if it wouldn't be for Medicare, if it wouldn't be for that fixed check that she gets from Social Security, I don't know where she would be, truly. And Rick Scott, when I was in Congress, I wrote a bill that would expand access to Medicare coverage. Well, Rick Scott was writing a plan that would sunset, which means eliminate Medicare, Social Security. He just last week also said that he supports an overhaul of the entire system. What does that mean? It would mean that 40% of seniors would go into poverty right here in the state of Florida. He is leading an effort to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We know that in our state, we have the largest number of families that get their health care through the ACA. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about us here in the state of Florida. And he also doesn't care about the violence and the gun violence that we have been living in our state and what it does to families like mine. It's very personal to me. I lost my father to gun violence when I was 24. I received a call, and it changed my life completely. And you never recover from that trauma and that pain. And I share that pain, unfortunately, with so many families living in our state. Families that lost their loved ones at Pulse in Orlando. We just observed the 8th anniversary. Parents that lost their children at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And it is, for me, the greatest moral failure that we allow politicians like Rick Scott to be in the pocket of the gun lobby and do nothing while our children are being killed every single day. It is an epidemic. It is the #1 cause of death for children in America. We need to do something. So when I get to the Senate, I will make sure to lead the effort to pass once and for all the universal background check bill, which would stop criminals with a violent background from having easy access to guns. And look, I am, if you see me smiling a lot, it's because the more I travel Florida, not only I fall more and more in love with the entire state, which I knew I would, but it's even greater now, but it's also because I feel that positive energy and how many Floridians are ready to do the work that we need to make changes for our state, for you, for your children, your grandchildren. We saw it in Jacksonville when Donna Deegan was elected, first Democratic mayor in over 20 years. We saw it in Orlando recently. Tom Keene won that seat. It was a Republican-held seat by 11 points, and he flipped that seat by 14 points, I think it is. And I'm seeing it in all of you right now in this room. And, for those of you that know me, you'll know that I'm a huge soccer fan. I think Messi is still the best soccer player in the world. Who's with me on that? My son played soccer his entire life. We're huge soccer fans. But even Messi, with that incredible skill that he brings to the game, he can't win without that team working closely behind him cohesively, with passion, with commitment to score that goal for that win. So, look, Rick Scott has never run in a presidential election. He has never won by more than 1 percentage point. He's never run against the millions of women and men that will come out to support reproductive freedom in our state. And he's never run against a Latina like me that knows exactly how to fight back and communicate with our communities. And so my commitment is I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I represent you in Washington and become your next U.S. Senator. But I need my team with me because I can't do this alone. Make a commitment today to be with DMP. Thank you so much.